All right, we have a new indie game making the rounds, and it's apparently the game everybody has to play, so of course I'm going to check it out.
Stupid boy, you shall never reach the surface.
Here's your review. So you've heard the hype. Hades, a new roguelike game that's on the Switch, and I think it's on Steam now, is making the rounds as potentially even a Game of the Year contender, despite having come out so late in the year. And this is kind of having the same kind of virality as other single-player indie games that we saw before, like Untitled Goose Game, or dare I say even Hollow Knight or Shovel Knight. So was it really that good? I had to check it out, and I have to say I have a lot of thoughts about it. It's going to be a very positive review. I actually really enjoyed my time with the game, but I don't necessarily think that means it's a game for everyone. Just like every game, you know, there's different types. And as a roguelike, I feel there's a lot of, you either love roguelikes or you hate them. I've never considered myself a roguelike fan, despite having played a bunch of them. The Binding of Isaac is a game I've never really enjoyed. I could never get into it, and I, to this day, regret paying full price for that game. Then there was another one that flopped on Switch that I actually really loved called, it was something about heroes, Has Been Heroes or something like that. That was a game I loved until I didn't love it anymore. Dead Cells, that was another big roguelike that made the rounds, and I liked that one until I grew tired of it because it was the same thing. And that's kind of what you get with roguelikes, is you keep going through the same thing, getting a little bit stronger, and there's a bunch of unique different takes. So Hades is that formula. You play as the son of Hades, which I don't remember their name, and I don't actually know if in Greek mythology Hades had a son or if this character was created specifically for this game. I'm leaning towards they were specifically created for this game. And so you're Hades' son, you're living in Tartarus, the underworld with Hades, and for whatever reason, you want to leave. You're trying to get to Mount Olympus, you're trying to escape it, and your dad's just like, you know what, you're never going to leave this place, so just keep trying. And every time you try, you go to a certain point, you die, you come back, and then everyone laughs at you, and then you try again, and you get a little stronger. And it really plays well into that roguelike element. So that's the basis of the initial story that you're set up with. You're just trying to escape hell, for lack of a better word. And as you play, the more you play, the more you start learning about more. And now I have to say, I'm about, I'd say 10 hours in. I've done maybe 20 runs of this game. I don't really know at what point I was supposed to get before I reviewed this game, but I have to say I have not completed an entire run, but I felt I knew enough about the game to review it at this point because I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm a lot of hours in. And if the experience only gets worse from here, well, I think I've already gotten my money's worth. So it's worth a review. So where was I? So the story keeps expanding because this is the game, if I have to define it with like one sentence, it's the game that keeps on surprising you. And that's what I really like about this in terms of a roguelike. And before I dive more into that, let's talk about the gameplay. So the gameplay, it's kind of an isometric view. It looks very much like Diablo. And you're switching between 3 attacks. So you have your melee attack, or your base attack, and then you have your special, and you have a cast thing, which is you can like cast kind of like a limited amount of beam. Those are and then you have your dash. So you have 3 attack abilities and your dash, and you upgrade those. They're different depending on the weapon. So when you start the game, you have access to just a sword, and then you can see 3 other weapons that you can access, but you need keys. So you have to find keys in the dungeons to unlock those, and then you get more available things like a spear or a bow, and there's more, but I won't get too much into that. And then as you're going through the dungeons, you encounter boons from the different Olympus gods, whether it's Zeus or Aphrodite or all the other Greek gods that are escaping me right now. Wow. I guess I haven't said their names out loud in so long, but they give you different upgrades. Like I really love Zeus's upgrades because it gives you chain lightning on your attacks. I really like the god of wisdom, which their name is escaping me. It starts with an A. Artemis, I think. They have the ability that when you like dodge, you can deflect projectiles and stuff, which is really handy. So as you go through the dungeons, you get to build up your character with the different play styles. And sometimes you're kind of forced to learn new play styles, which keeps the gameplay fresh. When you finish a room, all the rooms are randomly generated. When you finish killing everything in a room, that's when you have the choice. Oftentimes you have the choice between 2 rooms, and it will tell you what is the upgrade in the next room. So you can choose whether you want, let's say, a room that has coin, or you have a room that has a Zeus upgrade. You can see that before making a choice and you go in. Sometimes you don't get a choice and it's just, you have to go there. So that kind of gameplay makes sure all the runs are fresh. It keeps the combat going smoothly. And then you'll hit bosses, which when you beat them, they kind of open up a whole new area, and you kind of zoom out to a map and it shows like you were in Tartarus, now you're in this new section. You're kind of making your way up Mount Olympus to eventually meet all of your other relative gods. And from what I'm told from a viewer, I was playing this on Twitch, they do say that once you do complete a successful run, something happens, which I don't know what, but it gives you a reason to keep doing it again. So the story just keeps on going, even if you do make it all the way through once, which I have not yet. So that's interesting. And that takes me back to what I was commenting on earlier. This is the game that keeps on giving, because the more you play it, the more stuff you learn and you figure out in the story, but also in the gameplay. For example, without spoiling anything, there is a part in the game that I was getting accustomed to getting to and to doing a certain thing. And I had been doing that for maybe 5-10 runs at this point. I'm like, okay, now we're going to do this thing. I was like, I'm starting to feel that sluggish repetitiveness of the roguelike genre. And in that moment, the game's like, nope, we're switching it up on you. And they completely switched it. It switched the story. It switched the gameplay. I was like, whoa, what happens if I do it again? And that was what kept me doing runs. I always kept wondering, what happens if I go on a run with this item or this equipment, or try to do this instead? And the game always rewarded me with, here's a new twist, here's a new twist. And I loved it. Now, on top of that, I love collecting things in game. I really like unlocking everything that I can. And Hades has a really cool upgrade system where there are basically 3 things you can upgrade. You can upgrade yourself with a certain type of currency you pick up in the dungeons. It's like purple stuff. And you can use that to spend it to upgrade your character with very, very minor upgrades, like you get to heal a few HP every time you finish a room, or you can actually increase your HP, stuff like that. Then you can also increase your weapons to a certain degree. I'm not going to get too much into that. And then there's your base. So the House of Hades is kind of your hub world, and it starts off very small, and the more you play, the more things open up and unlock. You get new rooms that open up. And then there's also another currency, gemstones, that you can buy to upgrade the House of Hades with your cosmetics. You can clean up a mess. You can add like new textures and stuff. Or you can spend those gemstones to add things that will help you in your dungeon runs. So you can say, I want to build more healing fountains throughout Hell or Tartarus. And now in your next runs, you will probably run into a fountain. It'll be added to the random mix of rooms, helping you get that much further in your quests. So that element is just so fun. And then add into that, after a few runs, you also get access to a codex. And this codex keeps track of everything from your weapons, from everyone you talk to enemies, to things you collect. And every entry, there's always like a little thing that says you need to talk, let's say you need to talk to Zeus 5 more times to unlock more entries. So you talk to Zeus 5 more times. And then it says you need to talk to, and then that unlocks an entry. And then it says, okay, now you have to talk to Zeus 15 more times if you want the next entry. So that codex is always encouraging you to do more of these things to unlock more lore and more information. And same thing with the weapons. It's like, okay, now if you kill 100 minions with this weapon, we're going to give you even more lore on this weapon, which is super cool. And on top of all this, it's not just repetitive text either. When you die, the people in the House of Hades know what kills you. And when you come out and they're like, so you got killed by that thing, eh? And your character is, oh man, we got to talk about the character. The son of Hades, the playable character, has such a really, really cool voiceovers. And I have to say the voiceovers in this game are fantastic, like really good voice acting. And he's kind of like this nonchalant, a little bit cheeky kind of character who he's a bit gloomy, but he's cheerful at the same time. It's just the like right level, perfect nonchalant attitude that you want in a character that's just trying to get out of there and who's constantly dying. And he's just like, damn it, I just like died again. Like he pretty much echoes what you feel. So every time he's talking with people, they're kind of aware of how the story is progressing. They're aware of how many times you're talking to characters, and it all just changed. So there's no repetition. And that is something I love about this, that it kind of fixes the part of roguelikes, which I really don't like. And I feel myself getting stronger as I'm growing, more so than in the other games, in the other roguelikes I've played. So overall, I've touched up, I think, on everything I wanted to talk about Hades. So if any of that sounds appealing to you, I think you should give it a go. They're pushing the price, I find, to what I think I paid $30 Canadian for it. I would have preferred paying 20, honestly, just because I'm a little bit on the fence with roguelike. I don't really regret paying 30. I would have been way happier at the $20 price point. If you're looking for multiplayer, there's none of that here yet. I don't know if they have any plans to do it. I don't think it would make sense. So people were comparing it to Diablo. It's not like Diablo at all, except for the view. The view is the only thing that you have in common with Diablo. You have a lot less attacks. You have a lot more customization as you go through the dungeons. It's not Diablo. It's very different. So Hades is a good game. I have to say, I'm on board with the hype. I agree with what everyone's saying about it. It is a really fun game. And if you can pick it up for a good price, this is a game I absolutely recommend. You have to try out because the voice acting and the mechanics are really unique and they're worth checking out. I'll see you on the next Hades review. And until then, keep it classy.